Good evening, all of y'all. Okay, so let's start with the homeworks that you guys have done so far. Starting with Adrit. So Adrit has written that the jute plant is normally harvested when it is at the flowering stage. The stems of the harvested plants are immersed in water for a few days. The stems rot and fibers is separated by hand. Very good. And the fruits of the cotton plant, that is the cotton balls, are about the size of a lemon. Maturing balls burst open and the seeds covered with cotton fibers can be seen. From these balls, cotton is usually picked by hand. Fibers are then separated from the seeds by combing. You didn't mention ginning, so use the word ginning, Adrit. Okay. You just mentioned that in your second question. Okay. And the next person, Ashwat. Okay, the Ashwat, the answer is the one which you sent to me right now, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The fabric usually used in the cloths are okay. Cloths we wear is produced through two processes: the spinning process, where the raw cotton is turned into thread, and the weaving process, where the thread is woven into fabric. Okay, and also, Adit, you did mention this point, so try to mention this point also. And Ashwat, you try to mention what Adrit also mentioned because both of your points are important. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
and sewing of jute can be done either by broadcast method or by line sewing method. For line sewing method, the land is prepared well, and sewing is done with row to row spacing of okay, this answer is fine, but it's more for a higher education. Okay, so yeah, you can add these answers, but just remember, class, why I'm asking or why I'm discussing the homework in front of all of y'all is I want you to learn your mistakes. I want you to know what you're studying. And the reason why I'm giving you homework is for you to remember what I taught you in class. Because I'm not giving you homework of something that is taught long back. I'm giving you homework of something that is being taught that day. All right. So whenever you're writing the answer for the question I've given for that day, try to add points that I taught that day in class. This answer is correct. Yes, I asked you to mention like refer Google, that's fine. But try to add points from what I taught you all. So it'll be easy for you to write your exams. All right, Ashwat. Okay. And then you have Deepika. Deepika, you didn't send me your homework, Deepika. Can you send me your homework? Can you hear me, Deepika? Hello? I haven't got your homework in WhatsApp, Deepika. Can you send it to me now again? See, you can check the chat. I haven't got your homework. Yeah, so send it to me again. I'm waiting for your homework. We'll be discussing your homework in the end, so just send it to me. Sri Tej. Okay, so what he has written is the raw cotton is loosened and cleaned to remove straw and dried leaves. The clean cotton is then fed into a machine. The cotton fiber are combed, straightened, and converted into rope-like structures called sliver. The sliver of cotton fiber is converted into yarn by spinning using machines. Okay, this answer is correct. And again, you didn't mention about ginning. So whenever I'm saying any corrections, just take a pencil. Need not erase the whole thing. Just next to the answer, put in a small bracket. Just write the corrections. Okay, so when you're studying for your test, you can actually study by understanding what mistake you made. So, Sritej, just mention ginning. You haven't mentioned anything about ginning. And your next answer is jute is cultivated during rainy season. The jute plant is normally harvested plants are immersed in water for a few days. The stems, rot, and fibers separate. Okay, very good. Do you have Saumya? Saumya, you haven't sent me your homework. Can you send me your homework?
Mom, I did.
No, you didn't. You sent me your last class homework, which is about silk and synthetic fibers. You haven't sent it to me for cotton and jute. Like I can't find it.
Ma'am, unfortunately, I don't have the mobile because my mom is outside, so I don't
Okay,
have mobile.
okay, all right. Because you have sent me all the homeworks, like I think you sent everything together. You have sent the vitamin B question. You sent everything today. How is jute harvested? Jute plant is normally harvested of the following stage. Stems of the harvested plants are bundled in water for 10 to 15 days. So you, whoever didn't write the number of days can note it down. 10 to 15 days, you guys can note it down. The stems rot and fibers are separated by hand. The fabric used in the cloths we wear are produced through two processes, spinning process where the raw cotton. Okay, so you have mentioned the second answer, but you haven't, you just mentioned the answer. I want the question and the answer. For jute, you have written the question. So write your question, Saumya. And also, I want you to mention about ginning and whatever Ashwath and Adrit wrote. I want you to, and Sritej wrote you. I want you to write about the hand picking of the exact answer is actually what Adrit wrote. Like they burst open and everything. So just refer it and make the changes. Okay, fine. Going to Deepika. First question, you can't. Where have you sent this, Deepika? Like, did you? I want you to write it in a notebook. Everybody's writing it in a book and sending it to me. So I want you to write it and send it to me next time. Okay? I don't want typed answers. All right. So the jute plant is normally harvested at flowering stage. The stems of the harvested plants are bundled and immersed in water for 10 to 15 days. The stems rot, and the process is called rotting, and the fibers are separated by hand. Okay. What about the cotton question? You send me the answer only for the jute question. What about the cotton questions answer, Deepika? See, class, this is why I'm asking you all to just send me the answers earlier so we don't tend to waste class time hours. The fabric usually used in the cloths we wear is produced through two processes, spinning process and the raw. Okay. And you also haven't mentioned anything about ginning and about how the the fruit is grown. Cotton boll is very important for mentioning, so please mention that. And next time, I don't want type answers, Deepika. I want it to be written in a notebook and send it to me. Okay, I want you to take a picture of it and send it to me. All right, so going back to class. continue when we stopped. I'll just share my screen. So we saw about the two natural plant fibers, that is jute and cotton. Now let's look in detail. Ginning, can you explain again? Yeah, sure, why not? Okay, any of y'all who understood ginning very well, raise your hand. Nobody understood ginning. What happened? What is ginning? Raise your hand, guys. Very good. Who else? Only Ashwath. I thought only Ashwath in class. Very good, Sritej. Who else knows the answer? What about Saumya? What about Adrit? Okay, Sritej, can you explain what ginning is?
Ginning means like separating seeds from fiber and like that. Ma'am, from cotton balls, when you do ginning, you first pluck it, then comb it, then the seed is removed. That's how it's separated.
Okay, so this whole process is called ginning, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much, Sritej. Okay, Deepika, I hope you understand that is ginning. Okay, I hope Sritej explained it very nicely. I hope it's understandable. Yes, Deepika? Okay, all right, let's go back to class. So, all right, so this is what we saw in last class, right? And we saw where and all this jute is grown and how is jute grown, how is it harvested and all. So your next part that you will be learning is, just a minute. Okay, now we're going to see how this extracted cotton is spun. How is it made into a cloth, or how do you like, now right now you must be wearing a cotton cloth because it's very hot nowadays. So how is the spinning taking place? So what we're going to see now is spinning cotton yarn. What is yarn? What is yarn?
Yarn is the loose threads, like from fiber.
Okay, so from fiber, you're spinning it and you're putting it into yarns. You must have seen in your mom's house that you'll have, wool spins. You will have full of threads like these you will be having in your house, right? That is only yarn. All right. So this yarn, from yarn only, you'll start stitching your clothes and everything. Okay. So we can actually make yarn in our house ourselves. Okay. So what do? You just, there is this cotton. There is cotton. This cotton fibers are separated by removing the seeds and everything, and they are combed, which is known as ginning. And when these yarns, you just take a small, you just take a finger itself, take a cotton, spin it around your finger, round, you'll spin it. You'll have a full thread work, right? This is only yarn. And this yarn is obtained through a process called spinning. Okay, so process of making yarn from the fibers is called spinning. Okay, so in this process, what happens? These fibers from a large amount of cotton wool, okay, they're drawn, they're twisted, and then they're spun. This brings the fibers together to form the yarn. All right. So sometimes a simple device is used. What is the olden days device? We saw the video. What is the device that is used for spinning? What is the device that is used for spinning? We saw that day, no? Charka, very good. You have the charka that is used. There's a big wheel and there's a big stand. Okay, and here continuously the wool will be spun around. All right, the wool is spun around this, and it will be connected to this part. Okay, so The charka is what is used in the olden days in traditional India. All right. So there's a simple device that is used for spinning. And sometimes there's also another device which is also used for spinning in hand. It's called the takli. Okay. Takli, I'll show you the image. This is a takli. See, you can see over here clearly how they're spinning it using your hand. They'll spin it over a stick. Okay, this is called a takli. So they use a charka, or they use something like this where all your fibers are spun over here, which is called as a takli. So these are the two olden days devices that is used for spinning of the yarn. All right. So mostly, you know, the charka was popularized or famous because of Mahatma Gandhi, because in his independent movement, he used it. He encouraged people to wear clothes that was made up of yarn. And you remember what is the name of the cloth that was asked to wear by him? Anybody who knows history. Starts with K, ends with I.
Kali.
Khadi.
Khadi. Very good. Khadi cloth. This cloth was made from the charka, hand spun charka. Okay, so this khadi cloth was encouraged by Mahatma Gandhi to be worn by all the people in the independence movement. Okay, and the government of India constitute a body called the Khadi, and there was also Khadi and Village Industries Commission, and this happened in 1956. There was a whole commission, there was a whole committee for wearing this as like symbolizing independence for India. All right, so spinning of yarn on a large scale is done. So you know that if you sit and do this the whole day, it will take millions of years to start making a dress. Okay, it's gonna take years and years to make a dress for your whole family. Okay, so you need abundance of cloth. You can't wear the same cloth again and again. Whereas Mahatma Gandhi he never wore anything. He just had a dhoti, and he started stitching this khadi. Okay, so in those days it is fine, but now in modern civilization we cannot survive without cloth, right? So we need large varieties of cloth, not simple trousers or simple t-shirts. We need shirts, we need maxi clothes for girls, we need chudidar, we need salwar kameez. We have different varieties of cloth now. Yeah, so for that to be worn, we need the help of machines. This cannot be done with the help of hand. So right now, a lot of spinning machines are used. So after spinning yarns, they're used for making fabric. So these are the olden days machines, but now what are used? Modern machines are used. So from these to these have become. All right. So now after spinning of cotton yarn, what will happen? You have to weave it. You have to stitch it into a cloth. Weaving. Okay. So the next step is how you're converting this yarn into a fabric. The fiber is converted into a yarn, and the yarn is converted into a fabric. Now we're going to see that. So there are many ways by which fabrics can be made from the yarns. So two important processes we're going to see here is one is weaving, and the other one is knitting. All right. So weaving is nothing but, you must have done it in your when you were kids actually. This is just a small experiment. You can actually do it at home now itself. You take a cloth, not a cloth, just take an A4 size paper, fold it. When you fold it, it becomes half the size. Yeah, fold it and cut it over here like this, in this way. Stripes, you'll cut it. Okay, so there'll be cuts right over here. There'll be small cuts that'll be on the paper. So once you have done that, you take another colored paper. So for example, this paper is blue. Now you take another strip of paper. You cut them into these shapes. You cut them into strips. And what you do, you start weaving them. You put this on top. There's a hole here, right? I hope it's visible. I hope it's understandable. Okay, this will be one of the activities I want you to do it at home, and I want you to send me an image of what you get. Okay, so there's a gap here, obviously. So you put that under the gap, you will put the paper. So it will be under. Then again from this gap, you will take it out and you will weave it on top. So it goes on. Again, you'll put it under, again it on top. Yeah. So similarly, now this side, you started it by putting it on top. So this side, you will start it by putting it under. So you put on top over here. Then here, the alternate ways. It goes like that. And at the end, you'll be having a beautiful woven piece of paper. It'll look very pretty. I used to do a lot of this when I was a kid. You'll get a very beautiful pattern, checked pattern, and you can clearly understand how this stitching is done or how weaving is done in those days. Okay, this is the best way to understand how that whole process is done actually. So will you guys do it at home?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this is, it's a very simple thing. Did you understand how to do it? Did anybody of you not understand how to do it? Because it's one of your homework, guys. It's one of your activities. Is there anybody who didn't understand?
Ma'am, I have a doubt. We should stick it.
You not stick it, you just do it and send me a picture of it. It's enough.
Ma'am, I did not understand it.
Okay.
Ma'am, I have a doubt. Like
Tell
the
me.
ma'am, the red strip should be in like which size, ma'am? Should they be bigger or should we fold them and
Normal strips, just cut them using a scale. Small strips. I'll just show you a video of how it is done. Okay, it's a very easy thing, and I'll show it to you. 7. See how easily you did it. Can you see this little pattern you're getting? So if you do it thin, it will come thin. If you do it thick, it will come thick. Doesn't matter. Okay, now everybody understand how to do it.
Yes, ma'am.
yes?
Okay, this is one of the techniques of how weaving is done. This is how your cloths are woven. So this, you're doing it with a big paper. And imagine them doing it with very thin yarn. How do they do it? They use machines to do it. Okay, so when this all gets stitched, now when you just look at the dress that you're wearing, you can look at the tiny details. Look closely to it. Can you guys see that up and down movement of the wool?
Yes, ma'am.
The dress
Yes.
what you're wearing itself, you can clearly see. Okay, so this is how the whole weaving processes takes place. Okay, so there are different machines that is used for doing this processes. Okay, so in a similar manner, what happens? 2 sets of yarn. So you need one yarn that is blue color, one yarn is red color. For example, 2 different fabrics are taken, and the yarns are more thinner than our paper, obviously. So weaving a fabric, it is done using a tool which looks something like this. There'll be is there Pothys or is there RMKV in your place? Have any of you all heard of the shop? Anybody have heard of the shop?
Mm.
Okay.
No, ma'am.
They are traditional, actually Indian shops. Okay, it's there in Chennai here. So in that shops and all, if you go, they will have a big machine in the entrance to show the culture of India. They'll have a machine to show that this is how your silk and all is stitched. It looks something like this. This is stand here. So this blue thing is a thread. Okay, and a lady will be sitting and she'll be using a comb. A comb is used for combing all the wool backwards. Okay, and I'll just show you the image of it. It's not a perfect application. And these machineries, handmade machineries known as looms. This is how a loom is. Have you guys seen any of this thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this is how a loom is. Okay, this is how they weave it. Their whole cloth is woven with the help of looms. All right. So the looms are either hand operated or sometimes they even use power generated looms. Like it's made up of machines, machinery looms. All right. Okay. And then you have second technique, that is knitting. Knitting is something that you must have seen in many movies, or maybe your grandparents itself did it. You know, your grandmothers having two sets of needles kind of thing, and they knit your socks or they knit the cloth like that. Have you all seen it in movies?
Yes, ma'am.
They'll have a whole yarn ball over here, and from there they'll start knitting. Okay, this is how your whole knitting process is done. So all this, most of the sweaters and all, they used to knit it. Okay, so knitting, a single yarn is used to make. So here you can see a double yarn, two yarns are used, whereas in knitting a single yarn is used to make a piece of fabric. Okay, so what happens, this is yarn. Now have you noticed in your socks, basically, if your socks, one of the thread or one of the yarn comes out, if you pull it, it keeps coming out. Have you noticed it? It doesn't stop.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you guys
Yes.
noticed it? It just keeps coming out. The more you pull it, it'll just keep coming out. It won't stop itself when you have to cut the string out. Right. So this is built from knitting. This is stitched by knitting. So knitting, only a single yarn is used. It's the whole thing. One part of the thread you remove and you start pulling, the whole thread will start coming out. Okay. So that is how your socks is being knitted. All right. So socks and many other clothing items are made up of knitted fabrics. Knitting is done by hand and also machines. Okay, so weaving and knitting are used to make different kinds of fabric, and these fabrics are used for a variety of clothing items. So this much is enough for today, I guess. You can just note it down and tell me if you have done noting it down. And any of you all have any doubts so far? I have only mentioned it using images over here. So I want you to write your notes by using sentences for understanding. Right. Cotton is made into fibers by ginning. That is how I want you to write. You need not draw. Cotton is made into fibers by ginning. The fibers which are ginned are then made into yarns. The olden days, yarns are made using two tools, which is charka and takli. Charka was used by Mahatma Gandhi for making khadi cloth during independence in the year 1956. A whole commission was made for khadi. But nowadays, modern machineries are there. Now we're going to see how yarn is made into fabric. Yarn is made into fabric using two methods. One is weaving, one is knitting. For weaving, two types of yarns are needed. They are made with the help of looms, which is either manually done using hand or machine operated. Knitting is done with the help of a single yarn, which is also manually done or machine operated. Example, socks and many sweaters. This is how you should write your notes. If you write like this, you can easily pass your tests, okay? Just write it quickly and tell me when you're done. All of y'all. And if you have any doubts also, you can ask now.
Over, ma'am.
Okay. The rest of you, when you're finished, also tell me your name and tell me you finished.
Just 2 minutes.
Okay, Deepika's done.
Done, ma'am. Done, ma'am.
Okay, who is not done? Please tell me, I'll wait.
Ma'am, it's Sritej. I'm not done.
Okay, okay.
Ma'am, this is Sritej. I'm done.
Okay, all right. I hope the rest of the class are also done.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now we'll just see a small video on how this whole spinning of and weaving takes place. So first we'll see how the looms are used.
जवा जवा सा है समा क्या है इरादा जनाब आपका ऐसी खुशबू ऐसा रस स्लाइस बना है सबसे रसीले आमों से बस कोशिश अच्छी थी पर सिर्फ स्लाइस है सबसे खास। क्या आपने स्लाइस ट्राई किया?
Weaving has been around since the early Stone Age. The basic concept hasn't changed, but the speed and sophistication have. Millions of miles of fabric are needed every year to meet consumer demand.
Is it audible to all of y'all?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
It would be impossible to do without the industrial loom. High-speed machines all over the world, like these outside of Leeds, England, help meet the high demand. Let's see how they work. The basic materials needed for weaving are 2 sets of threads. The first set is called the warp, 2 rows stretched lengthwise. The second set is called the weft, and it goes back and forth between the warp. Every time the weft goes through, the warp moves to trap it. The threads are now becoming a piece of fabric. To keep them from unraveling, a reed pushes the threads together. Then, the whole process starts again. To mass produce a wide range of fabrics, thousands of different threads have to be organized. Devices called heddles provide control for the machine. Each one has an eye through which individual warps are threaded. This gives the machine control of thread movement. Heddles are suspended on the loom shafts located here. When a shaft is raised, the heddles go up and the threads move with them. A few hundred heddles and 2 shafts moving up and down together are required to create simple patterns. Industrial looms have thousands of heddles and up to 24 shafts. But how does this machine get its speed? To manufacture massive amounts of fabric in a cost-effective manner, the loom needs to move the weft through the warp as fast as possible. Old-style looms use a shuttle, which is a spool of thread that unravels as it's moved manually back and forth. Shuttles are reliable, but slow and in constant need of reloading. This presents 2 challenges for the modern loom. First, how to weave thread quickly without a shuttle and spool. Second, how to minimize thread reloading. Rapiers are one of the most efficient replacements for shuttles. One rapier picks up a piece of thread, pulls it to the middle of the warp, and passes it off to a second rapier. The second rapier pulls the thread the rest of the way across, while the first one goes back for another strand. Because spools no longer have to travel back and forth, the rapiers can draw thread from larger bobbins. This process results in less downtime for reloading, which dramatically improves the machine's productivity. On an industrial loom, this handoff happens over 1,000 times per minute. But how does the loom create different patterns and textures? A geometric pattern like plaid begins by loading the warp with rows of different colored thread. Sending dark and light colored threads through the rows, the loom can create almost any pattern. The trick is switching between colors. For that, the loom needs a weft presenter, which is a component that selects colors from different bobbins and gives them to the rapiers while they work. For complex patterns, a loom with a jacquard attachment is required. This device controls all of the threads loaded into the machine. Instead of combining the threads together onto the shafts of a stick,
you would have a separate section, or if you definitely ask the shopkeeper for hand-woven cloth, there'd be a separate section for that. So you would see all these complicated designs in hand-woven pattern because they cannot be easily done by machines. Hand-woven patterns are more rich and they cannot be easily achieved by machines, and they're very, very costly. Because you know that weaving a small cloth itself is going to take how long, right? So weaving a whole silk or a whole sari which is hand woven, it will put in tremendous effort. You need lots of effort. Okay, so they'll be very, very costly. So look at the amount of human power you need from extracting the cloth we're wearing today. Imagine how much of processing it went through. It has to first be extracted as cotton ball, and then the ginning has to be done, and the combing has to be done, and then the separation of the fibers, and then the weaving of the fibers to make it into yarn, to stitch it into cloth. You need to separate each thread, put it, stitch it, make that fabric into the color that you desire, add dye to it, and finally it gets stitched and comes in the product that you're wearing today. So the cloth that you get today is not easily coming. Okay, it goes through a lot of processing to come to that state.
Standard loom. Every strand has its own control system.
See, look at that sari print.
So with a jacquard attachment, operators can control the paths of each thread into ornate designs.
Look at the design, how beautiful it's coming out.
Instructions are sent to each individual thread as it races through thousands of weaves to create a pattern. Its namesake, Joseph Marie Jacquard, invented the first of these mechanical marvels in 1801. Until then, this kind of work had to be done by hand and was extremely expensive.
See, I hope you
First of these
listen to
mechanical
carefully what I'm
marvels
saying.
in 1801. Until then, this kind of work had to be done by hand and was extremely expensive.
Yes, so the one that's done by hand is very expensive.
Jacquard's machine used punch cards to control individual threads. Its modern descendant now works electronically. Designs and patterns are programmed into the machine. The threading of the jacquard loom is so labor-intensive, it's usually done outrageous.
Okay. This is how the whole
Without these
yarn
weaving
is
powerhouses,
woven.
the
I hope it was clear to all of y'all.
Yes, ma'am.
Any
Ma'am,
doubts
I have a
anybody
doubt.
has? Tell me.
Ma'am, all fibers are like they have to be ginning and spinning, not only cotton or just cotton.
It's just cotton because the term ginning is used only for cotton. Can any of you tell me why? Why only cotton and why not jute? Very nice question. Why not anything else? Why only is it referred to cotton? The answer is there within the definition of ginning itself, if you guys think carefully. Any of you? That's the hint I'm giving you all. The answer is there in what is ginning itself. Why is ginning only limited to cotton and not jute and not wool or anything else? No, give me-
Because they don't have to
I
remove.
don't. Exactly. So they don't have seeds. All right. So that is the answer. I hope Sritej, you got your answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So that is the reason why it is limited only to cotton and not any other fiber. And I hope everybody has noted the homework. I didn't give you all homework, I think. Yeah, I'll send you the homework after class. Like I'll upload it in the group. So just check it and send me the written format of the homework in my WhatsApp. All right. See you guys in next class. I hope everybody's doubts are cleared. Yes? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'll see you guys in next class then. Bye.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye,
Bye,
bye.
ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.